Hello, good afternoon. Thank you for joining us once again on Brothers in Cooperation, a program brought to you by the Italian Corporation. It is a program that talks about initiatives by Italians here in Uganda working towards development. It narrates stories of friendship, experiences, and work and commitment towards development. I am Saren Sigaye, and today we are going to talk about Karamoja. We are going to talk about the brothers, Italy brothers in Karamoja. Welcome. I'll start with Salongo. Dr. Giovanni Salongo, weza?
Bweza bwa mukasa.
Oh. You're my father now. You've really graduated to being my father because I'm Chiza. It means someone who follows streams. Welcome to this program.
Thank you.
How is Karamoja?
Karamoja is fine. Let me greet my friend, my brother Karamoja.
Greet them, please.
Abalaye Jokanohoe Balai.
Giacono, am I right?
Yes,
I've replied.
But also
right.
my Italian brothers.
Okay.
Buon pomeriggio, cari italiani che siete davanti agli teleschermi in questo momento.
Okay, you lose me there. I also have Franklin Omaki.
Yes.
Franklin Omaki, how are you going to greet your brothers?
I'm just going
and
to
sisters.
say, yes, I'm going to say, how are you, my brothers and sisters? In Karamoja, in Italy, and in Uganda as a whole.
Yeah. Franklin
Yes.
Omaki is the coordinator for CESVI. He coordinates the food security project for CESVI.
Yes, please.
I'll still go back to Dr. Giovanni. He works with the Doctors for Africa. CUAMM. What's CUAMM?
Exactly, I work with this organization. It's called Doctor with Africa CUAMM. CUAMM means college, university, aspirant, something want to be a medical missioner. It's a Catholic organization. I have a long story, but I will tell you during this journey. And my position is I'm the regional coordinator for this organization in Karamoja.
So regional coordinator in Karamoja or in East Africa?
No, in Karamoja.
Oh.
So I stay in Karamoja. I already spent 6 years of my life in Karamoja.
Really?
Yes.
How do you manage to stay in Karamoja? We are told it's hostile. I see you already speak the language.
There is a strange impression about Karamoja, but in Karamoja they are very, very good people.
Can I say it's safe to be in Karamoja?
At the moment it's very safe.
Really?
Yes. The action done by the government has done very well the results.
The disarmament process?
The disarmament, yes.
There's no more raiding?
Almost nothing.
Really?
Yes.
Well, I'll be asking more about that. What do you think of the situation? How do you manage it? In Karamoja, you are a son of the soil, so it's okay?
We as an organization, as CESVI, we have...
You're playing safe, eh? You don't want to talk about whether you... Fine, I'll rest my case.
Yeah, we have graduated into Karamoja, meaning that we have followed the trend of events beginning with the LRA in northern Uganda. We intervened when there was that situation with the LRA, and then we progressed on to Karamoja. And until the end of June, I was the area coordinator for Karamoja.
Okay.
Yes.
So I'm interested to first of all establish what CESVI is and what they do.
Yes, CESVI is an Italian abbreviation which loosely translated means Cooperation in Development. And it was established in Italy. We have our headquarters in Bergamo, established in 1985, and we were registered here in Uganda in 2001.
Okay, so
Yes.
you've been in Karamoja since 2001, or?
No, we've been in Uganda since 2001. We've been in northern Uganda since 2003. We've been in Karamoja since 2007.
Since 2007?
Yes.
What drew you to Karamoja?
As we got closer to Karamoja, we started understanding the need for the activities that we do, which is basically humanitarian assistance. So when, of course, contacted by our friends, We went
Which
in and
friends now?
Italian Corporation
Okay.
and the Italian Embassy, of course, they were also our funding partners, and they always kept telling us about the need to also take our expertise to Karamoja. So we entered Karamoja in 2007, and our areas have always been in the areas of food security and livelihoods, health, and a bit of education, mostly in the infrastructure. Yeah.
That's kind of a tall order in Karamoja.
A tall order, that's true.
I'd like to follow up on that later. I would like to come back to Dr. Giovanni.
Yeah.
Tell me, when you tell me college, mission, people who are aspiring, in Karamoja, you want to get people who are aspiring to Karamojong, who are aspiring to be doctors?
No, exactly. That one was a college in Italy to prepare a doctor who want to work in Africa for the benefit of our brothers and sisters. This why at the beginning was a more sort of missionary, exact. Now is enlarged. So there are many students who study, then they go to work as a volunteer in different parts of Africa. At the moment we have projects in Mozambique, Angola, Ethiopia, Kenya, and in Uganda, not only in Karamoja, in the West Nile, CUAMM, then also in Kosi University. So, but specifically health project. CUAMM is a health organization. We work only on health. This is why most of us are doctor and training, nurse, and so on.
So, okay, because today we are talking about Karamoja, I'm going to try and limit myself to Karamoja, but I'm curious to know why only West Nile and why only Karamoja. Other parts in Uganda
Our organization is focused for the more people, the more poor people, and then our target are the area of the country that need more help. And Karamoja, as you know, for long was an area was neglected, and CUAMM was the first NGO who arrived there in 1970.
1970? Oh my God.
We, at least CUAMM has moved together with the Comboni fathers. They create the first health units in Karamoja, especially a very good hospital, very famous in the country. It's called Matani Hospital. It's a Comboni father hospital, and CUAMM for long have sent doctor, sister, everybody to support this hospital.
Okay.
Then during the year, for sure, we have changed our intervention because Uganda now has a very good doctors and nurse, and on the focus of our project. But to understand the reality of Karamoja, maybe it's just to have some numbers. As example, in Karamoja, every 1,000 live births, we have 174 children under 5 who die.
174 children.
This means that around 500 children after 5 years die every month in Karamoja.
500?
500 children every month
That's a
die
huge
for
number.
preventable disease in Karamoja every month.
Preventable.
Preventable disease every month.
So that could be avoided.
Preventable means at the moment we have our capacity, have not succeed to reduce this mortality. Before was high. Till now, around 500 children every month die in Karamoja. We are speaking about 1,220,000 people.
What is the population of Karamoja?
1,220,000 people.
So they lose
500 children under 5 years every month.
So that is over about 6,000 children
every year.
What does that say? Because, for instance, CUAMM, I am not saying you're obliged to do that, but for instance, CUAMM has been there since 1970.
Yes.
And they are working towards preventing.
For sure.
Yeah, so why is this still the state of affairs?
Actually, if we want to focus, during the discussion, we can understand why a lot of children till now died in Karamoja.
I'm happy to get some tips.
CUAMM is working, actually now we work with the big partners. At least we are also already in the same team. It's called Team Alive. Our mission is exactly to reduce the number of children who died and the pregnant mother who died in Karamoja. This is our objective, or our stay there. And CUAMM is working now actually as a knowledge, because we have a project supported by UNICEF, the UNICEF together with, we work in each district in the district team, in the district health office. And we work exactly on the way for give us our advice, our support as a doctor specialized in public health, how to improve the health services in Karamoja. This is our challenge.
I want to get an idea of the health infrastructure in Karamoja, because there is 1 million people, at least the population of slightly over 1 million people.
Yeah.
It is 5 districts.
7 districts
now 7 districts. Yes. And 500 children die every month from or of preventable diseases.
Yes.
What does that say? Because it's not even about CUAMM. It's also about what the health policy is, what the health infrastructure is. Can my audience and us get some insight into the infrastructure in Karamoja?
The big problem is not only the infrastructure. You know, according to the guideline, every parish is supposed to have health units, but it's not like this. Then, for sure, for long, insecurity has affected the provide health services in Karamoja. But now, security is almost solved these problems. So there are other problems. One of the big problems we have is lack of human resources. Not many people like to go and to work in a difficult area like Karamoja, where you have no facility. Till now, we don't have electricity. Sometimes the health staff, they continue to live in a sort of magnata. So life is very hard. And if you have not strong motivation, commitment, you don't go. This is why our project as a component is called scholarship. In 5 years, we are going to have 90 students coming from Karamoja will graduate as a midwife.
They are trained from Karamoja?
People coming from Karamoja, sent in different schools in the country until they will come back and work in their area.
So are they committed to, if they are to train from that institution, then they must work in Karamoja?
They have to go back, but they will come back because there is the commitment to go back.
So what happens, how do you get them to come
they
back?
They have a commitment at least for 5 years to work in Karamoja.
It is sort of like a contract?
Contract.
So the scholarship is fully free?
Fully free, yes.
So is this the kind of aspiring, is it in line with that vision of aspiring medical missionaries?
Well, for us, we are not the one, for us are the one that implement the project with the funds of UNICEF. But, you know, for a guy, a student to go to school to learn to be a midwife, for sure, she will be dedicated herself for the community where she was born.
Oh, so how do you identify? Because this also brings me back to the issue of, yes, not only infrastructure, but there's also these, I won't even call them beliefs, but it is believed that in Karamoja, going to school, education, like you said, in a parish there is no hospitals, maybe there is not many schools. How do you get these students from Karamoja? What is the nature of training that they get, and how do you identify them?
We identify, schools are there now, not so many, but they are there. And these students, we identify the best human resources that can invest money for them to become health staff. So it's a selection. We do a selection, then the best we send to school.
So what is the nature of training? What is the quality of that midwife you're training from the foundation? For
sure, you have to come from the more hard-to-reach area. So you are sure they will go back to the hard-to-reach area to provide the work. And then you have to be the original from them, good result in the school. And then through the discussion during the time of a selection, we identify if there is a commitment to go back and work for Karamoja people. So basically, this is what your mission is, supplying human resource to Africa? Is that what it does? No, our work is different. For us, we are the only one who sit together with the district team members on the table where we take a decision how to improve health services in Karamoja. And we have a data center where we analyze all the information until the people will move in the correct way to save, because we want to reduce the number of children who die in Karamoja. This is our mission. This is why we are there. So you're playing an advisory role? We are advised with the DHO, district team member, but not only with the partners, until everybody we are working together for the same objective. I would like to understand the ability a DHO has in influencing. For instance, when I hear you tell me that
I sense a funding crisis maybe to some of the problems. What potential does this DHO, when you advise them, have to influence policy at a national level so that there is more attention paid to some of the things you identify, some of the concerns you point out?
We have started before with the infrastructure. We say that, but now they're improving. But the infrastructure with inside the human resources not committed are useless. Okay, but the attention from the country for Karamoja has increased tremendously. Probably, for sure, you know that the first lady is the honorable minister of Karamoja. This is a very strong demonstration that the government of Uganda is committed for Karamoja.
What has happened ever since she became the minister? What have been the changes that we can attribute to that?
She's coming there and she's very tough to look where is the problem, why we cannot solve the problem. And sometimes the problem is not because the human resource, maybe because the people who have power have not commitment. This is a problem.
Have you pointed out all those in your meetings?
For sure.
Do you know where the reports go after your meetings?
Our work is a little bit borderline. We have to be very much diplomatic. We speak with the voice of the people who have no voice.
That is great. I would like to know, do you have an idea, ever since the First Lady became the Minister for Karamoja, in terms of funding, what has happened?
Let me say, the problem is not money. The problem is the use of money. The money are there. The problem, the money till now, they are not properly used. Okay, so there is been money coming to Karamoja? The money is coming because it's the focus from the international NGO for the donors, so UN. The money is coming, maybe it will increase, but we cannot increase the money until we are sure that the money is properly used. Okay, so it's not necessarily government that apportions that budget, but there is goodwill from other development partners? Government, you have to share, have problem in all the countries, so it cannot increase too much the funds for Karamoja, but we have funds coming from donors. These, do you have an idea how the money is misappropriated when it comes? You know, exactly, I cannot explain. I understand there is a functional obligation, but to one very important thing is, if there are guidelines how to use the funds, please, you respect the guideline, because this is the way to save the life of the children of Karamoja. Okay, for the honorable members of parliament who are concerned about oil, there seems to be emerging, there is a spillover effect, because it seems from above, people have learned to also find ways of taking a share of the national cake from the resources that are sent to Karamoja. So I think, in a way, Dr. Giovanni is saying that if there are guidelines, but I think also if there is supervision on the money that is provided, maybe 500 children would not be dying every month. That is 6,000 children every year because of diseases that can be prevented. I would like to come to Franklin now. Yes. I've just had the problem of health, yes, and death, and the high death. And usually when you look at the statistics, for instance, the 2006 Ministry of Health survey, yes, malnutrition is a contributing factor. Yes. And you're talking about food security. How, yes, are you coming in the problem of children, especially the under 5, because it seems they are the ones who are dying?
Yes, like Dr. Giovanni rightly said, we are in the same team, in the Alive team, and with funding from UNICEF, we are implementing complementary programs, because meanwhile the main component of the program is also PMTCT. We have a nutrition component which targets
to my children. Audience, what is PMCT?
Prevention of mother-to-child transmission of HIV/AIDS.
Is AIDS high in Karamoja?
Yeah, with now the prevalence, it used to be one of the least areas of prevalence of HIV/AIDS.
Then what happened?
Then as the areas became a bit more accessible with the improvement of security and access, the numbers have shot up a bit, but still it remains a relatively area of low prevalence.
Okay.
Exactly.
Yes.
1.7.
So how come it looks like PMCT is high on your agenda?
Yeah, we don't have to wait for the situation to blow out of control. So we are saying let's put off the fire before it reaches the house.
So what are the statistics?
Um,
Okay, if an estimation.
Yeah, I think Giovanni already said that they have the data
Yeah.
center.
The situation for HIV/AIDS in Karamoja now, because through the partners, we test a lot of mother. So testing more mother also coming from the mountain for sure. There where HIV is almost nothing, is a 1.7 the prevalence. When at the national level for pregnant mother is 7%.
Oh.
So we are very low, but in some districts increase. Abim district that is on the way where the people is more go to school. Unfortunately, HIV is more high.
Abim
It's
district.
4.3.
Abim district is on the
It's
border
part
with Guru,
with
the Acholi region,
Yes.
and
Yes.
there's been a
And
war.
then we discover bad situation in Amudat district, where there is on border of Kenya. There are Pokot people. After the business of mineral there, HIV/AIDS has increased from 1% to 2.4 in 1 year.
For the
For
Pokots?
movement of trucks and so on, and also passing from Kenya, and this is the problem.
So why is the focus then on PMCT,
PMTCT
as opposed to awareness?
The problem is PMTCT is something that's very easy where the people are used to utilize the health services.
Yes.
But in Karamoja, unfortunately, till now only 70% of the mother come and deliver is in health facilities.
17 or 70?
17% of the mother deliver in health units.
Yes.
That is low.
This is very low. This is why when a pregnant mother is positive, maybe we cannot apply this prevention to reduce the risk of the child to be infected at the time of delivery.
Oh, that's disturbing, but I would also like
Yes.
to come back to you as partners, maybe later to the advisors, but to you. While I appreciate the need for PMCT, I'm also concerned about the need for awareness, because the neighbors in Pokot, in 1 year, there's been a shoot from 1 point to 2.4.
Yes.
What is being done towards creating awareness?
Well, a lot has been, a lot of initiatives are taking place, and as Dr. Giovanni has already said, it's a bit a gradual process. What we are doing is we've taken up the role of training the VHTs.
Who are VHTs?
The
for
village,
my
the village health teams.
who comprises of a
comprise
village
of
health team?
yeah, voluntary village health workers.
What are their training and expertise?
They have basic training in providing primary health care and mobilization for such care.
Which is the primary health care they can provide?
I mean, primary health care is a situation where you can access services for treatable diseases. It's not something that is so technical. You know how to advise on malaria, you know how to know that this is diarrhea, this is dysentery, and of course you can give advice on where the services can be accessed and that kind of thing.
Who identifies these village volunteers and who pays them?
Well, we are not supposed to pay them as per the guideline, but we are supposed to facilitate.
Okay, who facilitates them?
Yeah, we include in our program budgets a small token to ease their work. In some places it has gone up to a bicycle. In some places we give them a raincoat and an umbrella to increase their businesses. I mean their access to the population. And kits, you know, like kits where they can, for example, during immunization campaigns, they can move around safely with the drugs and that kind of thing. And also, we give them some basic training in trying to identify the malnourished children in the communities.
Okay. So
that training goes out to them because, like Dr. Giovanni rightly said, there is a critical shortage in health staff. I think from a survey which was done in 2008. The districts in Karamoja had only up to less than 40% staffing.
Oh.
So most of the health units had a critical shortage of staff.
Oh.
And in our own design, we complement the activities by coming with our own staff also and running kind of a mobile clinic arrangement.
How does this mobile clinic work?
What we do is we have the staff, and many times the medicine is available probably in the health units at the districts and the sub-counties, but not in the lower health units like the health center 1s and 2s. So what we do is we come with our own facility, with our own staff, get the drugs from the major hospitals and everything, and together with the staff based, the minimal staff based at the health units, we boost their capacity with our own staff, and we give primary health care.
It sounds like the hospitals are interested in taking these medicines, but the resources
are limited.
And but I would like to come back on that and the relationship between food security and health. More of that when we come back after the break. Please don't go away. We also expect a surprise visitor, but I'll be giving you details after the break. You'll also be interested in what is being done to get Karamoja from the state of affairs.
Thank you.
Before the break, I promised we'll have a surprise guest. The reason why I'm happy to have Dr. Giovanni, but for the issues raised about how the monies are being used and how the lack of money going to the things directed it is supposed to go to leads to the high death tolls, I think I'm happy to have this surprise guest and Franklin here, Omaki, because you don't have functional obligations as diplomats, so I am hoping you throw more light. We have John Tudo. He's the technical manager for CUAMM in Nakapiripirit, and Alakanyoni. I hope I have said it. Okay, I think I need to go to Karamoja, find myself a husband there, and be able to pronounce things well.
That's true.
So, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much.
It's good to have you here. I'll later be interested to get more details, not only about the project, but about the challenges, and especially when it comes to transparency, accountability, medical management, service provision, and putting resources where they should be. At least you throw some light. I'd like to come back to you, Maki.
Yes,
you were
please.
playing safe, you didn't even throw in a word when I was asking, what do you think is the problem when it comes to the monies? Are you able to take it up now?
Well, we have seen a slight improvement in service delivery, I should say, due to improvement in access now. But when we, of course, those of us who came to Karamoja a bit later, we have been dependent on secondary literature and that kind of stuff. And when we interact, of course, as partners, we sit on sector working groups of the district departments. For example, the water, sanitation, and hygiene. We also sit on the health. We also sit on the food security and livelihood sector working groups. So there is a bit of knowledge now in a two-way kind of system where the local authorities are able to know what we are coming with. We are able to know where the gaps are, and we are able to put the money where the gaps are. And we are also able to know in a finer detail what the government program is what the budgets are and where the money intends to go.
I hear a note of hope, but I also give it to you, my brother.
Yes.
You can be elusive. But anyway, I want to come to you as someone who is coordinating food security.
Yes.
Can you please give me the link between food security and health?
Yes. Let me narrow it down to addressing nutrition, for example. Nutrition normally has been mistaken or misplaced to be an issue only when it becomes clinical. Only when you see a definite sign of wastage and all the other signs of, all the other measurable signs of nutrition. But from a food security point of view, we are taking a preventive approach. We are saying, okay, even if we have been dependent on food aid, let us try and improve the quality of this food so that we don't suffer adverse effects of malnutrition. So what we are doing is, through organized farmers groups, we are encouraging them to grow things like vegetables, to spice up the whole thing and make the diet more meaningful, and try and avoid getting into the situation of malnutrition. Gradual as the process is, the uptake has been quite good. And we have seen that allowing the households and through their farmers groups and whatever way they want to organize themselves, we have seen an uptake of that approach by even the other agencies. Like right now, we are also implementing the livelihoods arm of the NUSAF too, together with the World Food Program. And
my audience doesn't know NUSAF.
Yeah, NUSAF 2 is a government program initially funded by the World Bank, and we are now on the second phase of it. But World Food Program has another arrangement for Karamoja, which is being funded by DFID. Yeah, so World Food Program is working through partners like CESVI. And what we do is we are trying to improve the productive infrastructure. So instead of World Food Program giving free the distribution of food, as was the case for the last 20 plus years, we are saying, okay, now there's a bit of improvement in security, there's a bit of improvement in access, so we are not so threatened by issues of conflict. Please participate in the reconstruction of your own productive infrastructure. And once you are able to do that, you qualify for a conditional transfer of food. Conditional means based on your participation. Yes, but also closely designed with this is what we call the Household Income Support Program, where we support these households to produce their own food. And we try and put it outside the bracket of what is already being provided by WFP.
So when the food is produced, when you encourage them to produce the food,
yes,
the food actually comes.
Yes.
So the problem is not, after all, that there is no food that can be yielded in, you can't yield food in Karamoja.
Yes, you can yield food in Karamoja, despite the constraints.
What, tell me those constraints and how you go about that, the constraints.
Yes. Initially, World Food Program implemented an earlier version of this project called the Karamoja Productive Assets Program, where we were looking at issues of access to water for production. So leave alone these big dams that are being dug by government, we were encouraging communities to identify areas where we could use community labor to dig dams which would have a catchment of water, and they can use this for producing their own food locally. By
watering? Or?
Yes, by establishing like vegetable gardens and other gardens around the dams.
How sustainable is that in terms of you have this water that you have to water? How does it feed you for a whole year?
It doesn't have to feed you for a whole year. It has to feed you for as long as it can. because there is no guarantee of having rain for the whole year. Though the last 2 years have been a bit different. And of course, it follows on observations that go back in time. And what we are doing is, it's better for us to encourage them to do the much that they can do than do nothing at all and remain totally dependent on food aid.
Thank you. I would like to, you sort of like take me to where I wanted to go.
Yes.
And I was wondering, because I interviewed somebody called Fiona Ayoru about 3 years ago during the drought. And she was like, World Food Program has been providing food since 1967, but now it's a huge crisis. We can't even deal with the demand because of the droughts and the floods. And I am asking, particularly you people who are the advisors, why since 1967 people have been depending on food and they still have to depend on food aid? Considering that we've seen that the vegetable gardens, for instance, can work. Why since 1967?
Thank you. Maybe let me respond to that. Thank you very much, viewers, for being in this show today. Us being a Karamojong, I know that very well. Karamoja has been receiving food for quite a long time. But I think there's something to be looked into. I think Karamoja, despite that, it has this good land, but I think the problem goes back to weather. And the times of rain season, it is very short, and there's a lot of drought. And of course, putting together the native movements of the Karamojong, this I think created sort of dependence to the Karamojong because they knew food was coming from somewhere. But however, as you go now counting those years backward, I think Karamoja has changed. Go down to Namalu area, which is the southern part of Karamoja. It's actually producing a lot of food. You go to the side of Abim, it's producing a lot of food. So I think there's a lot of change to the community in terms of catching up with the situation. And now I believe there's a lot of change.
So am I right to say that part of the problems in Karamoja is a mentality?
I could think so, but in somehow, there are actually certain time when there's a lot of drought that you are not able to bear. And people remain helpless because you go and dig, you put some seedlings down the ground, but eventually you realize that the sun comes and everything dries down and there's no rain.
Well, I'm glad you're Karamojong, because my question is, Karamoja is one of the richest countries in the nation state Uganda, in terms of the minerals, in terms of the gum arabica, which could be harvested. It's said that Osama bin Laden made a lot of money from selling that. In Karamoja, it grows widely. Toloro cement mines from Karamoja. Why is it that the people are so poor?
Thank you very much for that point and your observation. I know Karamoja is rich in minerals, and I think this country is quite aware that Karamoja is rich. I think what takes all this issue backward of the Karamojong is the illiteracy rate. It's so high that the Karamojong are not educated in time to realize that the natural gift of God, like minerals, like gum arabica, can make you earn money. So it is the literacy rate is so low that for them they only look at their cows, and this has taken long. And I remember very well that when the Arabica started a project there, and I think people collected the supplies, the items from the bush, and they were selling it, and they were getting some money.
Is there an effort to do it commercially?
I know there was this effort put in place, but as I look now, it seems it has actually gone down, and the project is actually disappearing completely as I see now. Coming back to the minerals, you know very well the situation with minerals. I know that where I stay, the number of lorries which pass every day, and even contributing to some challenges that I was going to inform you about the road. And you get that so many trucks leave Karamoja, coming to Toro, bring marble stones, and looking at that only is enough to, oh gosh, there's a lot of minerals coming from Karamoja. But I also felt that this is not acknowledged. It's not looked that Karamoja is giving some support to this country, despite that we know the trucks are bringing these marbles. But I think it should be acknowledged. It should be thought
by
about.
Who?
By the government.
No. Where are the Karamojongs? Where are the Karamojongs
yes.
like you?
Yes.
Trying to look for their place and say this is we and this is our contribution. And who in Karamoja is getting that Karamojong who thinks he's poor to understand that he's actually not poor and dealing with a mentality crisis?
Yes, I would like still to stand that. I think recently there was members of parliament who sat and they were discussing about minerals and strongly pushing the issue. But when I saw in the media, it was disputed that no, I think all the companies which are mining Karamoja are registered, all this, and it brought that these are young men. They just came yesterday to parliament. Why do they raise noise? They don't know what they're talking about. But these are the few Karamojong who are sometimes silenced without allowing them to speak it out. And I think this should be taken seriously. It was in the media recently. It was in paper. I remember the MPs talked about it. But some few shots raised up and say, no, come on, these are young boys. How do you continue saying the educated class is still young? It is time to change this country and change Karamoja.
I would still like to go back. I've just gotten a communication from my producer who thinks that when I say a mentality crisis, I am being rude. There is a mentality crisis in Karamoja, which is on record, even documented, that Karamojongs are hell-bent on one thing, cattle keeping, which they are not doing productively, commercially, and they are still poor. And it is agreed on record that someone needs to deal with the mentality of a Karamojong if they are to get to a certain level. I will not apologize for that, because if we keep being polite in our society, we will not take our society anywhere further, and that is why there is that crisis. I would like to say that rich-poor state, which Karamoja is, and I have advisors here. How are you dealing with that state of affairs?
Personally, I've done a lot to understand the culture of Karamoja, to improve also the quality of my output as advisor. What I want to say that really the Karamoja, probably for this problem, the way that for long the only possibility to survive in Karamoja was through agro-pastoral. If you concentrate all yourself in agriculture only, you can die very easy. The problem is the population of Karamoja has grown very fast, and the problem is outside Karamoja they close. The Karamoja before they can move outside, they can move in Teso, they can move actually according with the possibility of grass. Now this one is not. So the number of cattle is completely reduced compared to the number of people. This is why the agro-pastoral is not enough to give them food. And these marginal issues of marble, let me say, this is business for people outside Karamoja.
Why?
The only effect of marble in Karamoja, as I told you, is the increase of HIV/AIDS in Amudat.
What is decentralization meant to achieve? I would like to be advised by people who are advising people and sitting on the district committees on what the role of decentralization is if Karamojong cannot benefit from what is rightfully theirs.
Thank you very much. Maybe to give that response is that I know that with the local government and the council, they have discussed a lot of this. I remember when I was still in Moroto, they discussed a lot of this and put in the records of the council. They have discussed in the Nakapiripirit, and I think somehow they have reached some terms and resolutions, like with Tororo Cement, which I think they pay some revenue to the district pertaining to some resources they get from Karamoja, like marble stones. And I know that this, I cannot tell the figure, I cannot know the percentage, as being working a bit with the partner, and I know that there's this going on.
Okay, thank you very much. I would like to try and link what you have told me, what is happening, to also what development partners are doing. For instance, in this case where, as Dr. Giovanni has just explained, that pastoralism, agro-pastoralism is no longer productive. What is being done by, for instance, CESVI to deal with that?
Definitely, people are comfortable with their cultures because of the people are comfortable where the shocks are minimal. We have already studied the rainfall pattern in Karamoja region. We have, if we don't have a drought, as in a drought, then we have prolonged dry spells, which all don't give us a guarantee on achieving on the agricultural side, which pushes the people to the corner of saying that there is a threat that when rain comes, it comes in a flash, and probably it is too much, it will wash off whatever little that you have planted. So if you depended on only what you have planted, then you have 100% loss. You have a lesser risk of losing all when you put your investment in cattle. So we should not say that the Karamojong keep cattle purely out of choice. They have been driven to that choice with time. Yes.
The choice of keeping cattle.
Yes, because it is less. You lose less in cattle than when you lose in the crop sector. But that does not also mean that there are no areas in Karamoja that engage in agriculture. I think what we have to do is now to improve the distribution system so that those who are totally dependent on cattle can access food easily from those who are more agricultural also. He has already mentioned Abim. Most parts of Abim are very productive, and the rains there are slightly more reliable than areas like Kabong, which is on the last tip of the country. We have, even in Kabong, in the green belt lies a sub-county like Karenga. Karenga produces a lot of food, but of course infrastructural problems prevent that food from moving freely within the region. So we need to improve the distribution system for this food so that people can access it with ease.
Yeah. Thank you for that. I would like to also point out something that Andrew Mwenda wrote about 8 years ago, and he was saying that why is food rotting in Kasese and milk being powered in Karamoja? Of course, when I went to Karamoja, I realized that there's no milk being powered because they yield very little milk. It's not like all the
relatively, when you compare it to other areas.
To other areas.
Yes.
Well, I come from a cattle keeping tribe, and I would like to say that my opinion was it was low. I think, and I'm wondering, everybody doesn't have to, for instance, do agriculture and they will not starve. So what is happening is that even where they are saying that they went there not because they were safe or they wanted to, but they were driven there, they are also not excelling because they are finding challenges. So what is being done for them to understand that actually, because it's more, because cattle is used for also getting a wife, but also for pride, among other things. Yes. What is being done to show that commercially you can actually be a cattle keeper and be able to survive and buy food from Kasese, where it is rotting, without worrying about if there is a lot of floods and droughts, this will happen. The Taposas, for instance, also have the same challenges in Sudan, but they are able to feed themselves from being pastoralists.
Yes, that is true. The situation, like Dr. Giovanni elaborated earlier on, has just started to improve. As we speak, in areas like Kabong, we still have the protected kraal system, where all of us as owners of cattle have to take our cattle for safekeeping, with a detach of the army being in charge of the security. And we are able to access our cattle as late as like 8 a.m. And we are supposed to be bringing this kettle back by 5 p.m. into the protected kraal.
That is a bit
That
of
is a
really
very
disturbing,
limiting
yeah.
aspect.
But that just started how many years ago?
That was implemented in line with the disarmament.
When was that? When did that start?
I think it started around 2002-03.
Okay.
Yeah, 2002, 2003.
Okay, because...
But it's still being practiced up to now.
Okay.
And up to today, people can only keep a very small number within the manyatta.
Oh.
And it could be limited just to goats.
Okay, we have online, I'm sorry to interrupt you, I'll come back to you, but online we have Albo Angelo, who is the operational manager for ISP. Angelo, are you still there?
Yeah, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Good to talk to you. How is Karamoja?
Karamoja is still wet, but fortunately the rain stopped 3 days ago, they told me. And fortunately we can work.
Oh, so you can't work when it's raining?
It's very difficult.
Oh, really?
It's very, very difficult, and of course even the crops are... This year was a lot of rain, and the situation is really difficult. Yeah.
Okay, I'd like to ask you about rain harvesting, but I don't know if time will allow. So I would like to be educated about what ISP is and what they do.
So ISP is an association of groups, and in simple form means together we can, together it's possible. It's an Italian volunteer services organization, and is registered as non-profit organization for social purpose. And was founded in 1982, and more than 2,000 members, divided in 90 groups that are based in different regions in Italy. Concerning the income of Insieme Si Può, is coming from generous donations of companies and individuals. The majority of funds are generated by volunteers in Italy through various income-generating activities, organizing, partying, selling homemade craft and foods, and support also organizations in various countries in the world, Sudan, Uganda, Mozambique, Madagascar, Kosovo, Afghanistan, and Philippines, among others. And in Uganda, since 1982, we opened an office in Kampala in 2003, and it's officially registered as an international NGO.
Okay, I saw a silo there. Tell me about the silo project that you do and why you came up with this idea.
So, we have different projects, but the focus is agroforestry in the school. We talked, and that it's very important to educate people in water and agriculture, because you know better knew that in the Karamoja there is a lack of trees, and if we have some water and we plant some trees, we can see the future. We can take care of this tree through this education in schools, and we can see the trees, they are growing, and then we can use it. And the other focus is to drill the boreholes in order to get water, and of course, I say at the beginning, the education in agroforestry is involving students and all the schools.
Angelo, I'd like to thank you for talking to us on phone. I want to commend your work. I'm happy there's good network in Karamoja, so all the communication companies, bravo, well done. I would like to come back to the studio, but time is not our best ally. I've missed the opportunity because earlier I was asking about what you're doing in your advisory role, and as we've been discussing about the mentality, the need to empower the Karamojong so that they take the initiatives by themselves, also drives towards creating awareness. And I am privileged that I'm sitting with Dr. Giovanni here, who has done great works, especially films, and using the strength of video to communicate to the people in a language that they will relate to and understand. And I look forward to us watching those videos, at least clips of the film, especially Ekisil. I was moved when I watched it for the first time, I think in 2007. Tell me about these video projects that you do.
You know, for us, we need to develop together with our brother and sister of Karamoja, an incredible instrument, media, to use media. I'm the one who created the first radio in Karamoja, Radio Karamoja in Moroto, the idea. And then, as you can see here in the movie, at that time I created the idea of a movie called Ekisil. Ekisil Karamojan means peace. To create something to show them in their language, to pass the message, please don't kill each other. Don't kill each other. This was the message. And it's a famous movie in Karamoja now. It was created exactly with the proposal for this education. And after we create other video, educative video. So this video, they give a lot of good result, because the investment is to change the mentality until the people understand that they have to stay together and to find a common solution of their problems.
I was impressed with the way you understood the culture. When you did it, how long had you stayed? Because you really went into Karamojong thinking and brought a point home, in my opinion. There are,
let me say, there are many Italians, especially Father Bruno Novelli, who died a few years ago, a Comboni father who wrote different books about the culture of Karamoja. I read this book, and then reading this book, especially living with my friend, sometimes to discuss with the Ascari, what is this, what is that, until I understood properly. Then I wrote the scripts of the movie to try to put the message through the culture. Don't force it through my mentality, but to pass all the message through the Karamojan culture. This was a good effect of this video.
Just maybe to add on, I really congratulate Giovanni. His local name is called Lokol, and he actually became initiated in Karamoja, and he went through the procedures of becoming a man in Karamoja.
Oh, really?
So he's actually like a Karamojong himself.
He's a warrior?
So he's like a warrior, and, but he entered in this feeling of a Karamojong as himself, and I think he took it to his heart, and that's why he was really welcome in the society, and it was like
quickly, we must wind up.
I just want to
just leave a parting word to the Karamojong, to government, to the stakeholders.
Yeah, I just want to mention some few challenges, or 2 or 3. One of the challenges.
Can you do that in less than a minute?
Yes,
great.
Accessibility of health services, especially in district like Amdata district, which has 15% of access to health services, and even including other services like education. I talk about human resource. There's a lot of turnover of human resource because of the hardship in Karamoja, so the staff cannot stay for long. So you get that they really leave the place. And then there's issue of the road itself in Karamoja. It has been washed by rain. I'm sure you have seen in the media, bridges broken, cars of the tourists have been carried. And I want to mention about the funding given to district. In the district where I am, there's only 16 million shillings which come to the DMO's office. Just imagine that 16 million, and the DMO, that's for the financial year, has to divide this for buying tires, for maintaining office running and so on. And at the end of a quarter is just getting 3.2 million in 3 months. That's a problem, I mean. And then looking at the illiteracy rate, it's really high in Karamoja. And I think I want to appreciate that the partners have done a lot. And
You
I'm
have
also
thrown more insight. I would like to hear this, and so is my audience. My producer is telling me we've run out of time.
Thank you.
Franklin, it was good to have you. Quickly,
Yes.
like in less than 30 seconds, what do you have to say about Karamoja, summing up?
Never lose hope. As things continue to improve, more people will get initiated into Karamoja like Dr. Giovanni. But what I want, everybody who wants to help the Karamojong to know is that it's not a hit and run situation in Karamoja. You have to go there with a lot of commitment to understand the situation and stay there, because it's not going to take a very short time to change the whole attitude and perspective.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much to my guests, to all the technical crew. Thank you very much for the good work. To my audience, you are a beautiful audience. Thank you very much. I always get feedback, the comments, and we appreciate them. I would like to add my voice to that of the earlier voices that were raised. I want to thank the Italian government, because even when Karamoja was neglected, Italy, the Italian government has recognized that need, and they have been there doing development work for over 40, older than the nation Uganda, for over 50 years, and Uganda is going to be 50 years next year. Thank you very much for that wonderful job. I've had voices of hope here. I hear that there are initiatives towards getting Karamoja from where they are, so all is not lost. Let's just have the concerted efforts, not leave it to only the Italians and people in Karamoja. It is Uganda. When you have a wound on the leg, the head also feels the pain. Yeah. Let's do things together to get a part of Uganda, get to where we want to be. Have a lovely weekend. Stay tuned to WBS. More programming coming your way.
Alakara.
Alakala.
Alakara.